an inch deep, it's very difficult. And when you're up there and you're about to make a decision on a vote, the general public gets about, what, a 30-second blip on the evening news, or a blog that somebody's written who knows nothing about the subject matter, or some of these bills that they vote on are monumental tasks that lawyers and people have spent hours and hours developing. And there are things in there that cause people to vote a certain way because maybe it's the best it's going to get, or maybe they kept it from being as bad as it was. And so I look for people like that. And I guess and one last thought I have is, there was a woman, you won't even know who she is, but her name is Linda Shelley. And she was Governor Child's chief of staff and agency heads, and she's an attorney now and does some lobbying. And I guess the reason that she comes to mind, and people like Ginger Weatherall would be another exact example, because, and I don't know if these ladies would agree with me, but when I was the director of cabinet affairs for Bill Nelson, we had a panel of cabinet aides, and the public or whoever was coming before the governor and cabinet, they had to come before us the prior week, and we would vet out all the big controversy and try to reach some consensus before we actually got to the governor and cabinet. And I noticed that the men could ask a question, and hey, Nina, who is your role model is your next question if you want to get ready. The men could ask a question, and it was just a man being tough or being, looking into the issues. But if a woman asked it with just the wrong twinge of a voice, what do we get labeled as? The word I'm probably not going to say, yeah. And so how do we overcome that? How do you be strong and assertive, but not come across as being something other than we want to come across? And so watching women like Ginger Weatherall and like the women that are up here be assertive and be strong and be tough and ask the tough questions. I'm a nice person. I made the head of the Florida Highway Patrol cry. It was terrible. I didn't mean to. And so I know. And so I guess I just want to say that looking for strong female role models and trying to just really be yourself. Don't try to be something you're not. I guess that would be my closing thought.
And I probably would have to say the most influential woman on my life is my mother. She actually raised 6 children, mostly by herself. And I learned from her, and she had very little education, and somehow just kept us together, and we were all successful. All 6 of her children have gone to college, and we are on that journey of success. Not the destination, but certainly the journey. And she taught me that it doesn't matter what you're handed, doesn't matter what happens, you have to keep working hard and always taking the high road. You have to you can't just sit back and say, well, poor me, look what happened. And that was something that I used later in life when my husband died. I tried to share with my children, you know what? Nobody's going to blame you if you sit around and say, my father died, so now I'm going to have a really bad attitude. You can use that, and probably nobody would blame you, at least for a while. But you know who's going to suffer? You. So you need to learn from whatever you've been handed and then make the best of it. Another person that I've never met, but I would love to meet, actually 2 people that have influenced the way I have probably conducted myself during holding office. One is Condoleezza Rice. I read an article about her years ago, and actually I taught English at Chipola College. We had an article on Condoleezza Rice. She is one of the most impressive women I think I have ever heard about. She is fierce when the need calls for that. But she is also a woman full of grace and style and dignity at the same time. She is very accomplished. She's an accomplished pianist. She's very well read. She, in my view, I may be sad, I don't know. If I ever get to meet her, I hope I do. I hope I'm not disappointed, because I do think that she is one that has priorities in order and sets out to accomplish a task and does it very, very well. Another one is Laura Bush as well. And I think the reason that those 2 have affected me in my duties as a state legislator is I look at it and say, I can be strong, I can be effective, I can be influential, but I can always do that while maintaining my strength as a woman. I don't ever have to try to be a man. And we're all equal, but I am of the opinion we're still different, and that's okay. And I can still be just as strong as any man out there, but I can still maintain my feminine side, and that's okay with me. It may offend you, I don't know, but it's okay with me. And that, so Condoleezza Rice, Laura Bush, but most of all, my mama.
Good afternoon. My name is Nina Ashinafi Richardson. I'm a Leon County judge. I was just elected this past November, and I apologize for being late. I literally got off the bench. I had a trial this morning, and I'm so happy to be here. And I'm looking around at all you beautiful women, and I see some men. I'll count them in too. The question is my role model. I have two I'd like to share with you. One is a personal role model, and I have a professional role model. My personal role model is my dad. I was raised by a single father, and I want to preface why by telling you that I was born in East Africa. I'm from Ethiopia, and my father was challenged by many stereotypes coming from, from East Africa. In East Africa, the culture is that the woman is to stay at home and to raise the children and support her husband in his endeavors, and to make the house a home, and pretty much that was her role, is to make sure that the home is the stable environment for the entire family. And mind you, in Ethiopia, that is a noble profession, to be a homemaker. It's a lot of work, it takes a lot of sacrifice, and it's the management of the home, and that by itself is considered a valuable, incredible profession, if you will. Now, thank you. Yet in spite of the cultural stereotype and tradition of his own upbringing, he raised two daughters and adopted a third daughter, and challenged us to, in fact, overcome those stereotypes. So whether you have those personal stereotypes in your own faith, Father taught my sister and I that you have to trust yourself. You have to know what is it that you want, and to trust it and to go with it in spite of whatever challenges that you have, whether it's cultural, whether it's, living in a country where those types of stereotypes existed, like I came from. And that if you want to be an academic, I loved books. I stayed in the library all the time, and I knew that whatever I ended up doing in my life, it was going to be academic, it was going to involve books, and it was going to involve helping people, because I have a spirit of service. And so if you have that in you, and you share those qualities, you're going to end up becoming, hopefully, a lawyer. I encourage you to become a lawyer. If you love books, whether you like to argue or get in front of people or not, the legal profession is just an amazing venue, an amazing profession. And so my dad encouraged me. I wasn't forced to do anything that I didn't want to do. And but at the same time, he challenged me to do well in school and to excel in anything I did. And whether it was working my way through school as a waitress, my dad stressed to me, if you're going to do that, you better do it well. Anything you do in life, you do very well. And so that was my personal role model, is my dad. And he was a professor here at Florida State. He also taught at Brandeis. We lived up north, and he was in academics and dealt with a lot of young people and was inspirational and helped to move young people to better places. My professional role model is Justice Barquette. She was the first female Supreme Court justice. I knew her personally. She swore me into the bar. The reason I admire her was I was grappling with the stereotype of lawyers, especially female lawyers, as having to be rude, condescending, smart, but in a satirical kind of way. I'm a very loving, gentle, kind-hearted person, and I couldn't grapple the stereotype of being a female lawyer and being myself. And she taught me that you can actually be, and the words that you described for Condoleezza Rice are the words that are fitting for Justice Barquette. If she was in this room right now, you would not know that she was the judge of the highest court in Florida. She is now a federal judge. She was appointed, but she is the most down-to-earth, wonderful, caring, thoughtful, kind-hearted person you've ever met. And she was a runner. We used to run together. and you just would she had no airs about her, and so she taught me that you can actually be true to yourself and be the best that you can be professionally. And as women, we often struggle of how do we conduct ourselves. So she was my professional role model. Thank you.
One more question of each member of the panel individually, and then open the questions up to the rest of you for the remainder of our time together. Now, Judge Ashanafi Richardson, you and I met when I was in high school, and you helped out with my mock trial team, and it meant so much to us to have that help. But now, I know you've served on a number of boards with legal aid foundations and things like that. How do you decide when to say yes and when to say no when people ask for your help?
I'm still